Hello everyone, my name is Renzie, and today I'm going to be doing something a little different from what I've been posting lately. Instead of doing a combo video or just uploading a random duel I thought was entertaining, I'm going to be doing an overview of a deck I recently brought to locals. However, this is a tweaked version I put out after the events, so I don't fully own it in paper and won't be able to bring it to locals next week because I'm waiting for the rest of the cards to arrive. However, there's another version of this exact same deck I made a little bit later, which is one I will be bringing to my next locals when I bring Speedroids again. So, first we're going to go over the initial tweak to the deck, and then we're going to be going over the next variation of the deck I made, because this version I made after the locals on Thursday. I went to another event the very next day, and it was introduced to a YouTuber called Winter Kills, who does a lot of speedrun related content. And after watching a couple of his videos and seeing what he was running, I made another version incorporating some of the stuff he was running that I wasn't. But anyways, on to the list. So, I'm gonna attempt not to just rip off MBT's 10-minute testing format, but there's not really a lot of ways you can talk about a deck. So let's get started with our main engine. We're running a single copy of Rubber Band Plane because it's just an extra body. Running whenever you summon a Speedroid, you can summon itself from hand as an extra body. Running 2 copies of Double Yo-Yo. On summon, you can summon a level 3 or lower Speedroid from grave, just recursion for later plays. Most important card in the entire deck, 3 copies of Terratop. This card represents the ability to make any single level 7 or lower synchro monster in our extra deck, as well as just bridging any gaps your starting hand doesn't have. Oh, you didn't get the pendulums? Terratop gotcha. Oh, you need Tegatomborg to actually get into the synchro chains? Terratop's gotcha. Oh, you just need some other random thing for filler in case you just need extra bodies? Terratop has ya. Terratop will also set up your follow-up plays if you have everything else you need. And Terratop just baits out Ash Blossoms or Imperms or Effect Veilers. Because, well, it's a search. And negating that doesn't negate the summon, so no matter what, Terratop's getting on the field when it comes to that. Unless someone Ghost Ogres it, of course. But anyways, Terratop will get you your Tegatomborg usually, which Tegatomborg and Terratop can be a rank 3, a lot of things. Next, we're running 2 copies of Dendaiko Duke, again, recursion. You mainly just want to pitch this fella off of things. You're not really going to be summoning him a whole lot. But he's a level 3 tuner who can banish himself from grave to special summon a Speedroid tuner from your hand or graveyard. Just recursion. 3 copies of Tegatomborg, the other half to everything Terratop does, just about. Don't really need to explain him very much, but for people unfamiliar with Speedroids, Tegatomborg can special summon himself if you control a wind. Then, you can also tribute Tegatomborg special summon any Speedroid tuner from deck. However, if you do that, you're wind locked for the second part. Normally, with Speedroid stuff, you're specialing Terratop because he can summon himself to an empty field, then searching out Tegatomborg, summon Tegatomborg effect of him, summon out Red-Eyed Dice, which will then, on summon, modulate the levels at Terratop to make your synchros. Speaking of Red-Eyed Dice, we're running 2 copies. Originally, I was wanting a singular copy of it. However, that version of the deck was more of a funny, silly combo deck, I guess, when you really look at it, as opposed to an actual tournament play deck. Run 2 copies because you need a second to Red-Eyed Dice, and you don't always have a way to get it from grave. Well, yes, Double Yo-Yo, Dendaiko banishing from grave can get it from your grave back to the field. You're gonna want to have a way to have a second in deck. Because again, Red-Eyed Dice, on summon, both special and normal, non-once per turn, can turn another Speedroid into a level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 monster. Every time Red-Eyed Dice is summoned. So a main combo I usually do is Terratop into Tekitom. Tekitom bring out Red-Eye Dice. Red-Eye Dice mod Terratop into a level 2 to make Cork Shooter. I'll explain that when we get to the extra deck. We're running 2 copies of Wing Synchron, not because Wing Synchron is very great, but because if Wing Synchron is in our hand, we can't really use it later, because again, it has the same issue of we don't have ways to put it in the Pendulum Zone, back from grave or face up extra deck, so we need a second copy. We're running 3 copies of Clackers because he's another play starter. He can banish the Speedroids from grave to set this guy from deck into the other Pendulum Zone. You run 3 because when he's sent to the face-up extra deck, he can summon another of himself from deck to the field as a tuner monster. And you can also, once per turn, banish him from the face-up extra deck, buff up your Wind Synchro monster by 700 attack during battle. Next, running 3 copies of Speed Recovery because we want ways to put bodies on field, and this is a non-once per turn special from grave, which then, the next turn, can be banished from grave, adding a Speedroid from grave to our hand. Another non-once per turn. 3 copies of Speedroid Scratch. You can send any Speedroid card from hand to grave. You're normally going to be pitching Dendaiko, Wonder, or Duplicate, because these have the best graveyard effects, and searches any Speedroid card. It's a once per turn, but it gets you your play starter, and can just be an Ash target. 1 copy of Speedroid Clearwing Wonder. This is one of the newer trap support cards. Now, its main effect, target card your opponent controls up to the number of different Wind Synchro monster types you control. Destroy them. Targeted destruction of multiple cards. Now, this extra deck doesn't really have a big variety. Like, yeah, we got Stellar Wind, who's a beast, we got some dragons, and a couple of machines, but you're really not going to have machines and multiple types. You're mainly just going to have a ton of dragons who have negates. But in a situation where your plays get interrupted, you do end up having that. This card pops are nice, but it's mainly in here for its engrave effect. Whenever your opponent special summons a monster, you can banish this from grave, target 1 Wind Synchro you control, banish it, then immediately return it to the field. So let's say your Clear Wings already used up his negate. Your opponent special summons another level 5 or higher effect monster that you want to get negated later. You can banish this and recycle your Clear Wings effect, letting it get another negate off. Duplicate, it's more useful for being set on the field. You banish a wind from your grave, it's a targeted return bounce. However, it's mainly used for not as entirely focused on, but more often than not used for its secondary effect. In the graveyard, you can target a level 2 or higher Speedroid, reduce its level by 1, then special summon this as a level 1 tuner monster. You can only do that once per duel, which is why we're only running 1. However, again, it's another body on the field for Synchro plays, Link plays, not really XZs because it's level 1. Next, this is a little miniature engine. We got 2 different mini engines, technically. I guess the other one's on a mini engine. But a very, very small Wind Witch package. 2 copies of Glass Bell. On normal or special summon, you can add 1 Wind Witch who is not Glass Bell from deck to hand. 2 of them because, well, you need it as a normal, and with Terratop as your main playstarter, you don't really normal a lot, unless you're doing follow-up stuff, as well as a single copy of Freeze Bell. Glass Bell's a tuner, Freeze Bell's a non-tuner. If all monsters you control are Wind Witches, you can special summon Freeze Bell. Then you have the optional effect of changing this monster to be a level 4 instead of a level 3, so it instants out any Synchro 8 or 7. However, you can't control other non-Wind Witch monsters to summon Freeze Bell, so it's a little iffy. And I did end up cutting these 3 for the second variation post-locals, because, well, it's not as reliable of a engine as it looks to be. Anyway, speaking of engines, now it's time to go into our non-engine. 2 copies of Molcharmy Fuelos because I only own 2. I haven't managed to pull a 3rd copy from Quarter Century Stampede yet, but I got 2. 3 copies of Ash. 2 copies of Ghost Ogre because that's just pretty good. 3 copies of Effect Veiler because it's a non-once per turn. We would be running 3 copies of Ghost Ogre, but it's a once per turn. And, well, that's really it. And 1 copy of Called By. All of these have blatant use cases for the non-engine. But, As far as the main deck goes, that's it. Now on to the extra deck. I'm going to do this in reverse order instead of the first one listed according to sorting this. I'm going to start from the last one. First off, we have the one and only Speedroid Link Rubber Band Shooter. This is it is just like Terratop. It can do everything you need. However, you only really tend to make it if Terratop didn't do everything under the sun for you. It is Terratop 2 with extra steps, just about. We're running a single copy of Clearwing Fast. It's a pendulum monster, so we're able to make it as our initial Clearwing monster to make into the higher level ones, and then pend it out using clackers and wing synchron to have an extra body on board. He can negate one face-up extra deck monster as a quick effect for the entire turn, and it drops the attack of that monster to 0. High Speedroid Cork Shooter. A level 3 tuner. It has two effects. You can have Speedroid Trap from your deck to your hand, well, spell or trap, or if you've only summoned wind monster, well, you can only summon this guy if you only summon wind monsters, but if all of the Speedroid monsters are in the grave that were used to summon this, you can special summon them. Which is why it's very important that Red-Eyed Dice is not a once per turn, in any way, shape, or form. Because you can, with the effect after the little Terratop chain, turn Terratop into a 2, make Cork Shooter. Cork Shooter brings back Red-Eyed Dice and Terratop. Red-Eyed Dice turns Terratop into a level 6. You make either Fast Dragon or Clearwing, depending on the pendulum scales situation. If you have the pendulum scale set fully, you make Fast Dragon because you get them later. If you don't, depending on what your situation is, you're probably going to make Clearwing. Which is why we're running 2 of him. Just because you make him a lot and have a dozen ways to make him and want multiple of him. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. This is an with this, it turns Terratop into any Synchro 10. Well, any Wind Synchro 10. Which used to be what you did. You used to make Baron with this thing. But Baron is banned, so we have to go to other things. Next up, we got the newest Speedroid Tuner Synchro monster, Glider number 2. When this card is Synchro Summoned, you can target any level 7 or lower Wind non-tuner Synchro monster in your grave, special summon it. Basically, it sets up another Synchro chain. This is more used for your follow-up turns instead of your first turn combo. However, depending on what your starting hand is, first turn combo might end up going through this guy. While in the graveyard, if you control a Clearwing, you can banish it, increase the level of all monsters your opponent currently controls by 5, which makes it so any monster they control both can't be XZ'd with normally because, well, it's now 5 levels higher than usual, and is a valid target to be negated by Clearwing, because usually level 5 or higher. Next up, we're running 1 copy of Speedroid Kendama, level 6. Now, he's technically a time card, because you can banish a machine from your grave and inflict 500. And he can also bring himself back from the grave, but we don't really use those a lot. At least I personally don't. I have him in here as an option to banish off of Rubber Band Shooter. Because Rubber Band Shooter, one of his 2 effects is banish 1 Wind Synchro, reveal 2 Speedroid monsters whose levels add up to that Wind Synchro's level. Your opponent chooses one to be added to your hand, the other is sent to the grave. You can reveal a Terratop Dendaiko, Terratop Take Tomborg Dendaiko, Rubber Band Plane, Red-Eyed Dice, Red-Eyed Dice Wing Synchron, Double Yo-Yo Clackers. Every single 2 pair for banishing Kendama, very good. While Clackers and Double Yo-Yo, you don't really want either in grave as much, there are still ways to get them back out. But when it comes to Dendaiko versus Terratop, or really anything against Dendaiko going to grave, with these 3 level 3s, it's a win-win, really. Your opponent doesn't have a good situation. Effect option number 2 of Rubber Band Plane, you can do a second normal summon of a wind monster. However, it locks you into synchros using that second effect. You can do both on the same turn, but only 1 of each per turn. Next, as I already said, we're running 2 copies of Clearwing Synchro. He's kind of the focus of the deck. The deck revolves around him, and the many forms of him. Next, this is a personal preference. We're running a copy of Stardust Dragon. Not really for its effect, but for the effect of the next card. Sell Synchro Stardust Dragon. I know that's not how you say it, but I say it that way, and fuck you. When this card is Synchro Summoned, you can target one level 2 or lower tuner in the grave, special summon it. That's important because, well, it sets up further Synchros. Then there's Effect 2. During the main phase, you can tribute him, special summon a Stardust Dragon from your deck, extra deck, which is why we're running him, then Synchro Summon, using cards you control. You don't have to use Stardust. So let's say you got this guy out and set up have a Clear Wing as well, brought back Red-Eyed Dice from grave. Next turn, use his effect, tribute him, summon out Stardust Dragon, and then sync off Red-Eyed Dice and Clear Wing into Crystal Clear. And then, because of this effect, for the rest of that turn, it's unaffected by your opponent's activated effects. However, you can make as long as you have the materials for that Synchro Summon, you can make any of the extra deck guys. And whoever you summon is immune to activated effects for the turn. Stardust isn't immune. The Stardust you summon isn't immune, he's just here. He's only in the extra deck because we need that for Cell to work. Next, Crystal Clearwing. 1 tuner plus 1 non-tuner Synchro monster. He is a quick effect negate, or negate and destroy, that doesn't require it to be a level 5 or higher to activate. So he's just a direct upgrade to Clearwing. Well, Clearwing does have 2 negates. He's got a negate for a level 5 or higher activating its effect, then a negate for a monster effect that activates targeting a level 5 or higher you control. Both are negates and destroys. And the second one, or if it's a level 5 or higher being targeted, he gains attack equal to it. Crystal Clearwing negates any one monster effect and pops the monster. Then if it's then he gains attack equal to that monster's original attack till the end of the turn. However, if he battles a level 5 or higher, which I forgot during my first locals, is not a targeting effect, so I can do it against a Desire Ray equipped with Sequence. Remember that. It's very important in modern day. He gains attack equal to the current attack, so he can punch over anything level 5 or higher, guaranteed. Meaning he can punch over Desire Ray, if Desire Ray has been used up for its negate. Next up, we have something we tend to swap out of the extra deck with stuff in the side a lot. Stellar Wind Wolfraid, a level 9 beast synchro. You can only control 1, and every time your opponent, another monster, activates his effect, either yours or your opponent's, he gains 300 permanently, as long as his attack is less than 4,000. Then, if he has 4,000 or higher attack points, quick effect, shuffle both this card and all monsters your opponent controls into the deck. Non-targeting removal. But it can be negated, and if things are unaffected, it doesn't really work. He usually gets swapped out with Kite Drake, which I'll explain later. Next up, we have our Baron replacement. Clearwing, Crystal Clearwing Synchro Dragon. Needs a tuner, synchro, and a non-tuner Clearwing. So you can use Clearwing fast or regular Clearwing for this. Whenever your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, until the end of this turn, this card is unaffected by the activated effects of your opponent's monsters. Also, he gains attack equal to that monster's original attack. It's not a negate for the first thing, but he makes him a pseudo-towers. Next, he's a spell trap negate, and also destroys that negated card. And then if he leaves the field, if he's sent to the graveyard by your opponent's card, be it by battle, card effect, sending, like Desire Ray, you can take a wind monster in your deck, add it to your hand. It's pretty good, not as good as Baron, but it's a decent replacement. Another thing we tend to cycle out of the extra deck and replace with stuff inside is Shooting Star TG-EX. Takes the tuner, same materials as Crystal Clear, except it can be any non-tuner synchro. When a monster effect is activated that targets the monster you control, quick effect, banish a tuner, negate the activation, then destroy that card. It's a non-once per turn negate, and as you can see, we have Dendaiko, Red-Eyed Dice. If this guy manages to get engraved, Wing Synchron, Glass Bell, Ash Blossom, Ghost Ogre, Effect Veiler. That's why we're running 3 Effect Veiler specifically instead of like impermanence, because tuners that can be banished for a non-once per turn negate. He can also bring himself back by attributing 2 Synchro monsters, which doesn't really get used a lot, as well as once per turn can negate an attack. Next, I'm going to do that guy last. We have the new Clearwing. He's not as new anymore, of course, but new still. 2 tuners, or 1 tuner Synchro monster, plus 1 Clearwing Synchro Dragon. Specifically this guy. You cannot use Clearwing fast to make this guy. Anyway, so Crystal Clearwing over Synchro Dragon. Must be Synchro summoned. Once per turn, when another card or effect is activated, quick effect, negate the activation, destroy it. Then, of course, if it was a monster, like all the other Clearwings, he can gain attack equal to that monster's original attack at the end of the turn, until the end of the turn. Followed with the additional effect of, if this face-up Synchro card summoned card in its owner's control leaves the field by an opponent's card, you can special summon 1 Clearwing monster from your extra deck. So let's say you don't do Cork Shooter because you summon a non-win for some reason. You make out Glide, you make Clearwing, somehow get Clearing Grave, Glider, bring back Clearwing, then sync off these 2 or some other combination to make this guy. He's your only negate. Well, he can summon out Crystal Clear, or he can summon out another Clearwing, or a Clearwing Fast. Any of these. He can't summon Crystal Wing because it's not a Clearwing monster, but he can set up that. Another option, one of the funniest options that he can summon, High Speedroid Clearwing Rider. 1 Wind Tuner plus 1 non-tuner Wind Synchro. Once per turn during the main phase, roll a die, and shuffle wind monsters in your graveyard from your graveyard into the deck up to the result. So we can recycle 1 to 6 cards. Then, you can destroy cards your opponent controls up to the number of shuffled monsters. So his non-targeting destruction recycles that same number of cards, but the optional effect of not destroying things and can destroy less than he recycles, as well as he gains 500 attack for each destroyed card. Which is great. A great next turn thing, if you manage to have pieces left. Then, during your opponent's main phase, quick effect, tribute this Synchro monster, special summon 2 level 7 wind Synchro monsters with different names from your extra deck. So, after recycling things, you're gonna want to recycle Clearing Fast and Clearing Synchro. You're gonna summon these 2 back to the field. It's an extra deck monster negate, and then a level 5 or higher negate. Which isn't bad. But anyways, on to our side deck. We're running 1 copy of Wind to Wind Channeler, because, well, it can discard itself and another wind, add a wind monster at 1500 or less. That is just about every single wind monster, including Molcharmy. You can make add Rubber Band Plane, Glass Bell, Double Yo-Yo, Fuelos, Terratop, Freeze Bell, Dendaiko, Tekatomborg, Red-Eyed Dice, Wing Synchron. The only one it cannot add is Colonial Clackers, but Colonial Clackers can be added by Terratop or Scratch's effect, so don't really need that. Next up is another little mini engine that we're running. A single copy of Pilica, Descendant of Gusto, level 3 Psychic, who can, on summon, target a Wind Tuner Engrave, special summon it. This is another way to get out a quick Totem Bird, and 2 copies of E-Telly to summon it from deck. Running a copy of Ghost Mourner Moonlit Chill as a replacement for an option of just extra deck negate. It's a once per turn. It can negate when your opponent special summons, it can discard it, negate that monster's effect until the end of the turn, and if it leaves the field, the controller takes damage equal to its attack. It's another level 3 Wind Tuner that can be summoned from Grave off of Gusto to make Totem Bird. That's the only reason it's in side deck. We got the level 8 Kite Drake. A Wind Machine Tuner and a non-tuner. If this card is Synchro Summon, you get to do one of the 2 effects. A. Destroy all of the cards on the field. Non-targeting destruction. B. Negate the effects of all face-up cards your opponent currently controls. Then, if it is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card, doesn't have to be normally Synchro Summoned. If you cheat him out, he can still get this other effect. If he leaves the field by an opponent's card, add a Speedroid from deck to hand. Next, a copy of the level 7 Wind Pegasus, a Cyberus monster. During the main phase, it pops spells up to the number of Ad Ignisters you control. So it's a single spell pop, because we don't have any other Ad Ignisters. And if another card you control is destroyed by battle, a card effect while this is on the field or graveyard, banish it, target a card on the field, shuffle it into the deck. It's a pop and a bounce. This is mainly for fun. I don't play him anymore, but it was a funny tech because when I used to run the level 2 pendulums of Marble Machine and Domino Butterfly, could banish him off of Rubber Band Shooter's effect, but I never once summoned him. Next up, another level 3 tuner synchro, Martial Metal Marcher. When summoned, summon a tuner from your graveyard. As well as you can trade a synchro monster, summon using this as a tuner. That one doesn't really come up. But yeah. Totem Bird, detach 2 to negate a spell effect and destroy. When negate a spell trap, a copy of Harpies, 2 Lightning Storm, and 2 Infinite Impermanence in case Effect Veiler ain't good enough. Because this can be used during your turn. But yeah, that's the initial post-locals deck. Here's the one I made after the following locals. Same main deck, mostly. 2 Double Yo-Yo, 3 Terratop, 2 Dendaiko. We added 3 copies of Card Turbo. 2 copies of Card Turbo because Winter Kills was running this, and it reminded me, well, he's more stuff to synchro with, more stuff to make things with, can be modulated, uses link material, more stuff for XD potential. Just another body on board, who can also banish himself and another win from grave, make all you guys 800 points stronger for the rest of the turn. A copy of Ultra Hound. I used to run back early on when Legendary Duelist Synchro Storm set was released. I had bought a box set of it and pulled from it, and then built my first IRL Speedroid deck. I was running this guy because I thought he was really good, then later kind of shifted off of him because I started to think he wasn't as good. And now I'm back on him because Winter Kills reminded me how much of a great card this is to run. Again, 3 copies of Take Tom, 2 Red Eye Dice. We're also running 3 copies of Marble Machine instead of the Wind Witch stuff. Because, just like Terratop, however, he can't be special summoned. On normal summon, he can add any Speedroid monster from deck to hand. Locks you into Wind, though. 3 copies of Speed Recovery, 2 Scratch, and a main deck Win. A copy of Wonder, 2 Fuelos, 3 Joyous Spring, 2 Ghost Ogre, no longer maining Veiler, called by and maining 2 Imperm. Extra deck is mostly the same. We got our Crystal Clear, Over Synchro, Clearwing Rioter, Crystal Clearwing, Crystal Wing. We got Kite Drake in main now instead of Stellar Wolf. The 2 Stardust, 2 copies of Clearwing, a copy of Kendama. Another thing that Winter Kills reminded me is a good Speedroid card, High Speedroid Hagoda, a level 5 Synchro. During either player's turn, tribute this card, increase the level of all monsters on the field by 1 until the end of his turn. That's not the main thing that was good about him. What's good about him is, if you control a Speedroid tuner while this is in your grave, you can special summon this. Locks you into Win doing that, but let's say you have Red Eye Dice. Well, now you can make a 6. Oh, you have Card Turbo or Dendaiko? Well, now you can make one of these 8s. Probably gonna make this guy, because this guy only does stuff on your turn, but it's not as good unless it's on the opponent's. He's better to be doing on the opponent's. He's just good. And these 2 do make Shooting Star, but we're not main decking him anymore. Anyways, on to the side. So I got the copy of Pelica. We got 2 Effect Veiler, TGEX, Wind Wolf, Wind Pegasus, Metal Marcher, Totem Bird, Duster, and 2 Lightning Storm. The 3rd copy of Scratch is in here now, same with the 2 E-Tellies, and we put Speedroid Duplicate in here. The reason I made these changes is because A, it's a little bit more consistent. These guys give more follow-up, because Ultra Hound on summon can pitch a Speedroid card from deck to the extra deck, or from deck to grave, as well as you can target a Speedroid in your grave, banish this, shuffle the target into the deck, special summon a Speedroid Synchro at the same level. So that can cheat out. Well, he doesn't really cheat out anything, actually. Because they're only level 3. guess we'll just put that there. Yeah. At least send Speedroid monster or Speedroid card. Speedroid card. So yeah, he can pitch our Wing Wonder. That's why we're running him. I forgot. For some reason I thought we used him to pitch Pagoda. But anyways, that's the list. I'm gonna work on the formatting for this little series of stuff I do for the future ones, but as always, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.